Destiny Sets, Book 1 of the Chateauneuf Chronicles, published by Writers Exchange, available for purchase from readerseden.com. The novel will be read in a series of short podcasts. If you can't wait, please feel free to buy the book. Then you can read ahead. This man, this is the one we will choose for her. And how will we get them to meet? She will not accept an order from us. No, but she will accept a fateful meeting. Curiosity has always been her weakness. The rain danced along the edge of Lisa's wings. The echo of buildings guided her through the night. She was restless. She had to hunt. Coming to rest in an alley, Lisa hung from a pole and carefully checked that no one was watching. Glimpses of her people had inspired grand tales over the millennia, and she had no wish to add to them. They could not afford the risk in this modern world. Teasing them had been fun once, back when humans were full of superstition and living in tiny villages. It had made them so easy to play with. Now they had spread all over the earth, even starting out into space itself. Letting them become aware of her kind was too dangerous now. They were way beyond the angry mob with flaming torches stage. Seeing a bat turn into a woman could now bring a hail of bullets instead. Or they could find one of the gates. Then they would destroy her world. Reassured that she was alone, she changed. Wings folded into pale flesh. Her fur became a waterfall of raven hair. She straightened, clawed limbs becoming long, well-muscled arms and legs. With a touch of impatience, she reached into a small bag around her neck and drew out a dress. Humans of this era really did like you to be dressed in public. When in New York. The dress slid over curves, defining a body honed by constant training. Hands, unaccustomed to work, but covered in small nicks and cuts, smoothed the short skirt until it just covered the tops of her thighs. Satisfied with the effect, Lisa ran her fingers through her hair, brushed her tongue across her lips, and started to stalk. The bar was full of smells. She hated hunting in these sorts of places. She tried not to smell the stench of smoke, drink, loneliness, and boredom. They were all an unfortunate part of the scene. She gazed around the bar. There he was, a dark shape sitting by himself and nursing a drink, hoping that if he gripped his glass hard enough, it would turn into the love that he had lost. Perfect. She loved melodramas. He was not yet drunk. He could do quite. Wearing a smile and a look of carefully calculated recklessness, she approached her target. She would help him. He would have the perfect chance to forget lost love, at least for tonight, and she would be much more effective than that drink. He shot out of his chair and grabbed her arm. Lisa was surprised by the look of recognition in his eyes. "You? Who are you?" he cried. Lisa raised an eyebrow and merely looked at his hand on her arm. He sheepishly removed it. "Sorry, but—" he stammered and then fell back into a seat. "Sorry." Lisa smiled and slid into the seat opposite him. Up close he really was quite handsome, but with that tousled look she associated with academics. Somehow his English accent suited the look. An old English professor with patches on his elbows, except this one was quite young, barely more than 20. She glanced at his fingers. In the old days, ink could never really be erased from hands that dealt with paper all day. Now ballpoint pens had replaced quills. In fact, she was seeing more and more of those computer things around. Soon ink might be completely a thing of the past. She sighed. Humans were changing so quickly. It was hard, very hard, to keep up. She decided to focus on flirting for tonight, and leave the problem of understanding humanity for another time. After all, was the delicious side that really mattered. She ran her gaze back up his body and looked into his eyes. When she was sure that she held them in hers, she spoke in her best sultry tones. "What an unusual technique you have. Do you often use it?" he asked, confused. "Picking up women by accosting them," Lisa replied. To her fascination, she actually blushed. "Sorry, I've been having dreams about this place, this bar, and you, and—" He stopped, glancing back down at his almost untouched drink. Lisa leaned forward, curious. Dreams? His eyes flicked up, and she enjoyed the fact that he had to force them past the glimpse of cleavage she was giving him. "I've been having dreams about this bar. You arrive, and we—" He blushed again. Lisa laughed, reaching out to gently brush the edge of his jawline with her fingertips. "You know, you really are quite delightful when you do that. Do you mean that you have been dreaming we have sex?" Her fingers traced over his lips. "Even though we have only just met? Obviously, the fates have decided we are meant to be. They do not often give previews. We should not disappoint their plans." If anything, his blush deepened. Lisa threw back her head and laughed. "Oh, by all means, then." She slid out of the seat and stood waiting. "Let us have sex." He looked at her amazed. "You're kidding. A mysterious woman with an accent walks into a bar and offers sex. It just doesn't happen." "Obviously, it does. I never kid about sex. It's a very important part of life, and dreams should be pursued." He hesitated for so long that Lisa almost gave up waiting. Suddenly he stood, grabbing his coat. "I will never forgive myself if I don't. After all, what's the worst that could happen?" Lisa just shrugged, so he supplied his own answer. "I could end up dead in an alley with my throat ripped out." Lisa took his arm and leaned towards him to whisper into his ear, "I promise not to rip out your throat. Just nibble on it a little, and I'm sure we can do better than a dark alley."